Yesterday, the public-facing aspect of what's been called Operation Rio Grande began here in the Rio Grande district. My name's Paul Edwards. I'm Deputy Chief of Staff for Governor Gary Herbert, who has directed this operation. And we would like to be able to respond to your questions and concerns. We have with us today a number of people who've been directly involved with the overall coordination of Operation Rio Grande. And I'm going to remind the speakers behind me, this works best straight. It's very directional. So before I introduce who is going to be giving us some brief comments here, I do want to acknowledge just a few individuals. Very grateful to Vestar, Brian Hill in particular, who own and operate the Gateway. We're very grateful for them making this space available to us and for a number of a number of ways that they've supported us over the last several weeks to be able to pull things together. We're grateful to Bryce and Garbett and Pioneer Park Coalition for bringing their members here today. Jason Mathis of the Downtown Alliance for organizing people to come here. There's so many people that we could thank. I'm going to acknowledge Pamela Atkinson as a key part of our outreach to the service providers and those in the community here. We're very grateful to have her as a part of our team. So today we'll have the opportunity to get a short briefing on the overall operations from Lieutenant Governor Spencer Cox, who the governor has appointed as our point person on Operation Rio Grande. We'll hear from Speaker Greg Hughes, from Mayor Biskupski, from Commissioner Keith Squires, who oversees the Department of Public Safety for the state of Utah, from Salt Lake Police Department Chief Mike Brown. And when he arrives here, we know that there's the swearing in of a new... Oh, we have him. Welcome. We'll be grateful to hear from Salt Lake County Mayor Ben McAdams. So I'm going to turn the microphone over to each of them. We've asked them to take just a few minutes, and then we will respond to your questions and comments.
What's that, Paul? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. We know that this is a really big deal for all of you, and this is an incredible turnout. We very much appreciate it. I know you're more engaged in this issue maybe than most people, and so you've been paying attention to what's been going on the last couple of days. But let me back up just a little bit. This is an issue that you have all been well aware of, the city and county have been well aware of, and over time the state has become more aware. And I want to thank Speaker Hughes, who is here with us, who helped bring me up to speed as well on many of the issues that have been plaguing this area for some time. There was an important meeting that was held about 2.5 weeks ago. In fact, I think it'll be 3 weeks ago tomorrow, where all of us got in the room with many other people. The governor convened this meeting at the Capitol, and we all sat down and we all looked around and said, we've got to do something and we have to do it together. So government is good at some things, bad at things. One of the things it's not very good at is working across jurisdictional boundaries. So cities are really good at city stuff, and counties are really good at county stuff, and the state's really good at state stuff, but we're not really good at working together on issues across jurisdictional boundaries. And so in an effort over the past 17 days, we've been working day and night with our teams to try to figure out how to break down those barriers, how to find ways to work together to help solve a problem and to help get the resources where they need to be. We're very excited that yesterday morning we started what has been called Operation Rio Grande. It is a 3-phase operation. The first phase, which started yesterday, is an increased law enforcement presence. And this is very strategical. What happened yesterday, what's happening today is surgical. It's going after the worst of the worst. The first thing we need to do is disrupt the drug trade that is happening in this area and that is very widespread. The second part of this is that it will be sustained. So unlike operations in the past, this is not something that's just going to be a day or two and then things go back to normal. The bad guys run away and then the bad guys come back, okay? That's not what this is about. This is about maintaining that presence for as long as is necessary. First of all, to restore order in this area, and once that has happened, there will be a decrease in law enforcement, but a significant increase from what you've seen in the past. So the Department of Public Safety, led by Keith Squires, together with Chief Mike Brown and Salt Lake PD and many other agencies, and they'll talk about this, we have an incredible amount of law enforcement that is committed to this, and it is a 2-year operation. Okay, so I think most of you know we have long-term plans for what's happening, medium and long-term plans. In 2019, the road home will be closed. We will have 3 new resource centers in other locations throughout the county. Those will be coming online, and that's why this 2-year commitment is so important. Because I want to make it clear that the resources are still here and are here until 2019. So this isn't the end of homelessness, although we would love to see an end of homelessness, and we're committed to that, and I'll talk about phase 2 and phase 3. But there will still be people here because this is where the road home is, and this is where the other service providers are. So that's not what we're talking about, but what we are talking about is getting rid of of those that refuse to conform to the law, refuse to abide by the law, and those especially that are preying on the most vulnerable in this population. So you will see an immediate decrease in the drug trade happening right here in this area. Okay, the other piece of this is that we are going to pursue the lawless, the people, the bad guys, wherever they go, because we know historically when the cops have come in, the bad guys have scattered and then they come back. We have mobile teams that are ready to pursue them into other jurisdictions. We don't just want to move the problem to South Salt Lake or to West Valley or somewhere else. We're going after them wherever they are. So that's the law enforcement piece. The second phase of this is the treatment piece, and this is very important. Phase 2, again, this would take 6 to 8 months to plan. We're doing this in 16 days, all right? So we are moving very rapidly. Phase 2 will actually start on Friday. We will have enhanced services available. We will be issuing IDs to everyone in this area to help them to get the services that they need. There will be assessments that will be done in this area, and again, those will start on Friday. We are trying to fund more treatment beds. We know that has been a problem in the state for a long time. We don't have enough treatment beds for those that need help for addiction. And so we're committed to that as well. We have 37 treatment beds that are coming online in the next couple weeks. We have some more down in Washington County that are coming online, and we're committed to opening upwards of more than 200 beds over the next 6 months, which will make a huge impact in helping people get the treatment that they need. Third phase of this, which will be coming online a little later. We don't have a date for that, but soon. We are working on increasing opportunities for work, increasing opportunities for job training, both soft skills and hard skills, helping those people that are truly homeless, whether by choice or by circumstance, but are looking to get back on their feet and find a way to get back engaged in society, to find housing, all of those things. That is part of phase 3. Steve Starks with the Utah Jazz has agreed to head up that, and we have many businesses who have agreed to cooperate. We're working together to find new job opportunities and again, helping people that dignity of work to get back on their feet. So that's kind of a broad overview of what you're doing, but I just want to underscore, and I know others will talk about this too, that we have never seen a commitment like this from the state, that we're not going away, that we're very serious about it. I didn't ask for this assignment, but I got this assignment, and I'm very serious about this assignment. And so you will be seeing and hearing a lot from me, seeing and hearing a lot from all of these individuals over the next 2 years as we work together with community leaders and others to help resolve this problem. Again, and that is to get the crime out of this area, to make it a family-friendly place again, and especially to help the most vulnerable amongst us, those who are experiencing homelessness, help them get the services they need, help them get back on their feet, and help them live the American dream, as all of us are trying to do. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn the microphone over to Speaker Hughes. We'll each take a few minutes, and then I know we've been collecting questions, and we'll be answering those. Paul will be moderating that. Speaker.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. Just to give you an idea of the commitment we have, today's a primary. You have the Chief Elections Officer right here. It's his job to make sure that these elections happen orderly and legally, and he's been doing that as we have been meeting at the same time on this issue all day today. So you had a big event yesterday. You saw the beginning of what we were doing.
since I'm not
Yeah.
ignoring them.
Yeah, so because he's multitasking, Lieutenant Governor's asked me to clarify that if you see him on that phone, that is because he has his primary day today, and he's working on that level as well. But that shows you the commitment that we have and how critical this issue is. So yesterday was a big day. It was the launch of the 3 phases that Lieutenant Governor just described. Today we met all day long with department heads, with our elected officials and public servants of other political jurisdictions. We met all day because this is far, far from over, and I don't want anyone to think that what you saw yesterday was a flash in the pan or something that was just a statement to be made. There is so much more scaffolding, there is so much more support coming, and that has to happen for this big effort to be successful. One of the things that you're watching right now is something that you don't see in politics, and certainly if you watch the news at night, you never see it with the talking heads, and that is you are seeing people, regardless of political party, regardless of jurisdiction, state, county, city, service providers, it doesn't matter who we are, we have come together in a collaborative way. Now the way we've done that is we've said perfect can't be the enemy of good, okay? So we're just trying to get to something good every single day. Your attendance here today is absolutely critical in our attempts to get to something good, because you're going to see things and you're going to experience things, and frankly we wouldn't be here without the voices that are in this room, people that I have met, people that I know who've brought me a better understanding of this issue. I wouldn't be here and we wouldn't be here without you being dedicated to teaching us and showing us what's going on around here so that as policymakers we make the right decisions. I see Chief Ross, Fred Ross over here. He's running UTA police force right now, but he was in this area and brought me years ago to see for myself what was going on, and I saw a horrific crime feet away from a child in a stroller, and it really emotionally made me feel that as policymakers we had to do better than what we were doing, and it's taken us longer than I would have liked, but I think that we are on a very good track. I want to say, look where we're meeting right now. Look at this beautiful facility, but look at what circumstances we're meeting under. The goal is that we don't have a space like this where we're using it as a community center to talk about some of the challenges or the challenges or crises that we face. This is a vibrant and successful establishment. That's what we need to see for this community, for our state. And we don't need to have this, we don't need this nice of digs to have this kind of meeting. We'll go find another meeting to do that in, but we need to see a place like this absolutely successful and see this neighborhood and this community be successful. So we need your input, we need your help. Again, I know it's been said, but I want to thank Scott Howe, Pioneer Park Coalition, Bryson Garbett, Pamela Atkinson. There are so many stakeholders that have helped us. We have the storefront, by the way, and then I'll finish. We've had so many committee meetings on this. Do you know what it's like to sit in a storefront and just look across the street and bring your policymaker friend over and say, what are we looking at? I don't know. Well, they're rolling things very quickly and they're selling them very fast. What do you think that is? Are we watching drug trade happen in front of our... Yes, we are. We're watching this. It's an industry. Those moments, you can't PowerPoint that. You can't explain that in a hall of government. You have to see it. So we have worked very hard to bring empathy to your public servants, to the different jurisdictions as we work together to see the crisis, to see the issues we have in front of us. And this is a cavalry. We're all in this together. And it's difficult at times. I'll just admit it now. It's not easy. You want to know why you don't see this ever? Because it's just too damn hard to do it on a regular basis. It's hard. But we're doing this, and I want to thank you for being here, and your input continues to be essential for our success. Thank you.
Well, welcome. Thank you for being here today. I want to tell you, we are happy at Salt Lake County to be participating in this initiative. And what makes me happy is that the approach that's being taken with this is sustainable and is not a flash in the pan. It is something that will make a difference for our capital city, for our county, for the long term. And we've had some concerns about how we would move forward with this. We know that you as a community, that us as a city and as a county, have been struggling with this. And this is not a problem of our own making. This is not a problem that we can solve alone. This is a problem that is bigger than Salt Lake City. It's a problem that's bigger than Salt Lake County, and we need state resources and state leadership to help us to address this problem. And so I am here to say that we are so grateful to have the leadership of Speaker Hughes and Lieutenant Governor Spencer Cox and their teams working with us to address these challenges. One of the things that we wanted to see from the beginning was that this wasn't just to come in and sweep people up and then go away and the problem comes back like we've seen so many times before, but that we would come together and we would implement sustainable solutions. So one of the things that I've been tasked to spearhead in this effort is to make sure that we have those sustainable solutions, that we are implementing jail, that we are incarcerating the bad people, getting dangerous people off of our streets. But those people who need help, who have substance addiction and are better treated, both more affordably and more sustainably with drug treatment and behavioral health treatment, that those treatment resources are available to them. And I'm pleased that I can stand in front of you today and look you in the eye and say that help is on the way, that those treatment beds will become available, that there is a commitment from the county and the city and the state to free up those resources. As Lieutenant Governor mentioned, we will see additional 37 beds coming online in the next few weeks. That sounds like a small number. In the grand scheme of things, that is a big number. But we will scale that up to as many as 200 beds over the next 6 months. Those beds and the people who will go into those treatment beds and leave successfully, and new people who will come in to receive treatment, that will make a difference, that will have a visible impact on this area and on our capital city, and it will have an impact on the families who love people who are struggling and in crisis in the Rio Grande area. So our goal is to get dangerous people who are preying upon the most vulnerable, preying upon the businesses and residents who reside in this community, that we get them into jail and that they are no longer on our streets. And those people who need help have access to the treatment and support that will help them. I want to tell you, last night, we came and with this operation yesterday, and we were down here all day. And after we finished, Speaker Hughes and I walked over to grab dinner. We walked over to Caputo's, and we shopped at Caputo's, and then decided that we wanted to get some waffles next door, right there in Pioneer Park. And we grabbed dinner, and we sat there for a couple of hours and talked about what we've seen happen so far, what the challenges are, and where we're going to go from here. And I want to tell you something. First of all, we felt safe. I've been in this community many times, and last night we felt safe. Now, I know that we have a long way to go, that the problems aren't one and done. As we've said many times, we're not hanging the mission accomplished banner yet. Last night we felt safe. We enjoyed dinner in the Rio Grande community in Pioneer Park, in the Pioneer Park area. And I want to say to residents of Salt Lake City, come back and help us and to support this change by coming back and being a positive influence in this community. Shop at the businesses, eat at the restaurants, because that's what you can do. Many of you live here and you know this, but what we need people from across this city and across this county to do is to come back, because it is safe and you can come here and you can enjoy the Rio Grande area, and that we are not just focused on the short term, but this is a long-term solution, and the commitment to treatment and the commitment to treating people humanely is strong, because we know that that is not only the right thing to do for those people and for their families and their loved ones, but it's the right thing to do for the taxpayers. That is, in the long term, the affordable way to address this problem is by getting bad people and dangerous people into the criminal justice system and jail where they belong, and people who need help to overcome an addiction, they've got the access to treatment. And thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, and thank you to my colleagues. When I came into office, I was very clear that Salt Lake City could not resolve this issue alone, and the Calvary, as the speaker puts it, is partnering with us in a very significant way. I want to acknowledge some of these signs in the background. I want people to know that we are not out there going after people who are experiencing homelessness. that we are out there arresting people who have felony warrants. We brought in 87 arrests yesterday. There was no use of force involved. And 85 social worker contacts were made, either in the field or in the CCC itself. So we are providing those very necessary and needed services for people who are experiencing homelessness, who have substance use disorder, and that work will continue, and not only continue, but is being ramped up. The state has asked both the county and the city to go back to our legislative bodies to see if we can get the ongoing funding that we need to sustain the level of support that we are providing today and yesterday and tomorrow. That work has to be done by this Friday. So I'll be reaching out to my city council members in the next couple days and my fiscal staff to really look at what is all happening financially through our teams. That includes law enforcement, it includes fire, it includes public services, it includes our justice courts, and many others who have ramped up services to make sure we are meeting the needs that are coming with this effort. And we have a very heavy lift that is being asked of us on top of what we are already doing, which is close to a $13 million tag. But we will go back and we will work and we will meet and we will see what we can do by Friday. I also wanted to say that this phase 1 manpower intensive piece is being intelligence led, meaning that as we do this work and we are arresting those with felony warrants and those who are actually dealing drugs, that we anticipated people going out into other communities. And the law enforcement team will talk about this, but we already have our strategy and our plan to make sure we address that. And we already know that some of this trafficking has moved as far north as Ogden already. And those reports are coming in. So our teams are working very closely together statewide, and we are communicating in a law enforcement fashion that is uncommon and that doesn't always occur when you are working through various jurisdictions. So I'm very proud of our law enforcement team. They're very strategic in what they're doing. They're very measured in how they are managing, and I'm very grateful to them and that partnership that you see here today. So I will end there so we can get these two gentlemen up before you, but thank you again for being here.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. You know, this is unprecedented. And I want to say, as I look behind me, Mayor, Speaker, Lieutenant Governor, Mayor Biskupski, Commissioner, thank you. The stars have aligned for Salt Lake City PD. Look, we've been at this job, I've been doing this for 27 years. We've never had the horsepower behind what we're doing today than we have right now, so thank you very much. And you know, I have to give a shout out to the women and men of the Salt Lake City Police Department, the fire, EMS, they've poured their hearts and souls into working in that Rio Grande Depot district, and it's tough work. This is different, and I'm telling you it's different because we have put a lot of effort into 17 days of a lot of meetings with who's counting, right? We've worked, this should have been 6 months, but we have done this in 17 days. This is extremely important for us. Everybody has come together. It's not our plan, it's not the state's plan. We have taken the strength of everybody's plan. This is part of your plan. We here, the Pioneer Park Coalition, look, I've been in many, many meetings with you, Scott, Bryson, Mike, Tiffany. I mean, we have heard you. This is a great plan. What's different about this plan? It's a 2-year plan. Look, we've worked very hard. We've done operations. We put a lot of emphasis, and we've moved people. We've moved the cartels, we've moved the drug dealers, but guess what? We couldn't hold that line. Now we can hold the line. This is not one and done. In fact, I got asked today in a press conference earlier, look, what's different down there? I said, well, I'll tell you what, it's hard to find a drug dealer. And they've moved. And we know where they moved because we have intel. And this is an intel-led policing operation. We do know as we put pressure down here, they're going to move. They're going to move into other people's neighborhoods. Built into this plan is a contingency to move with them. And as they move, look, this is not to arrest our way out of it. We can't do that. We've tried for many, many years to arrest our way out of this. We've used that big hammer of law enforcement. And anytime we've had a problem, a social issue, we've tried to hit that problem. Look, we can't arrest our way out of it. This comes with contingency of treatment. Finally, we have jail beds. Mayor Biskupski, thank you for your leadership on that. We can interrupt bad behavior. We can put the criminal in jail, but we can interrupt that bad behavior. Today, they made 87 arrests of criminals out of this area. The other side of that coin is that we, through our social workers, state social workers, have gone out into the field and delivered resources to people that truly need their help, our help. And so we're trying to give them a hand up and get them out of the circumstances they are today. You know, as they move, my friend Pamela Atkinson sits here. She came over because we were in a long meeting today, and she said, Chief, I know where they're moving. I says, Pamela, we needed to know that. And so she sent me an email. But Pamela, this is the work we're doing. As they move, we will move not only the criminal element, but the compassionate service in the work we do. So I thank all of you. You are passionate about your community that you live in, and I want you to know that we stand with you, and this effort is all of us coming together. So thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Keith Squires, and I serve as Governor Herbert's Commissioner of the Utah Department of Public Safety. The visible side of the Utah Department of Public Safety, the most visible, is the Utah Highway Patrol and our troopers, along with our State Bureau of Investigation agents. About 3 weeks ago, I was part of the meeting Lieutenant Governor and Speaker Hughes mentioned, and what was presented in that meeting was an opportunity for us to do what we do in law enforcement. I'm in the 30th year of serving as a sworn law enforcement officer in this great state. The one thing that I learned early on is the fact that in law enforcement you can plan for what that threat is that you may encounter, but there's going to be times when you become overwhelmed. And I've been in situations where I was very appreciative, and so was my family, that backup showed up when they did. It doesn't matter what we're dealing with, there comes a time when we need to come together and we need to support each other to take on something that's bigger than just any one of us, but something that I know can be managed by all of us. I've never seen anything close to this except for the Winter Olympics of 2002, where so many political leaders, business leaders, the community, and law enforcement agencies, along with the other aspects that we needed to make sure that we provided the most safe and secure environment that we could, occurred until this opportunity. For the Winter Olympics, we had, as the chief mentioned, a lot of time to prepare for that. We knew it was coming a few years out. What's taken place in the past couple of weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, is really remarkable. Not perfect, it's a work in progress, but it represents a lot of people, and Speaker Hughes has mentioned before, and so has the Lieutenant Governor. Some of the meetings have been difficult. We haven't always seen exactly the same path to proceed, but through the communication and cooperation, we now have some resources that are available. I can tell you that yesterday my department had 81 state troopers, some of them were State Bureau of Investigation agents supporting this operation, along with our partners at Salt Lake City Police. Salt Lake County Sheriff's Office, Department of Corrections through AP&P, Chief Ross with UTA was mentioned, and all of the other valley chiefs, and I'll say even sheriffs throughout the state, because they're helping backfill some of the positions that I'm pulling troopers from right now to be able to support this effort. We are here for the long term, like has been mentioned. Right now, I mentioned how many we have this week, but we will have a significant presence along with Chief Brown and the Salt Lake PD for those 2 years and whatever it takes. So we're here to support you. We're here to be a part of this community, and I appreciate this opportunity.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to encourage the panelists that we have here to answer very briefly but succinctly and accurately the questions that you have, because we have a lot of questions. I also want to make sure that we adequately recognize and thank the many service providers that continue to provide very important social and charitable services here, right here in this part of the city. We're so grateful for what you're doing. And this is actually a question that has been asked several times, and it is, how are the different service providers being included in the plans that are coming forward? What is their specific role?
Thank you. How are the different service providers being included in the plans that are coming forward? So as we discussed, there are different phases to this plan. The first phase is really addressing some of the challenges that we see with the bad people who are on our streets. Phase 2, which is following close on the heels of Phase 1, these aren't phases that'll stop, but Phase 1, we're just starting first to address the criminals who we see in the downtown area. Phase 2 is to recognize that there are people who simply need drug treatment and that. So we've been in great conversations with a lot of the behavioral health community, both Salt Lake County Behavioral Health, Odyssey House, First Step House, House of Hope, many of those providers throughout the county who are gearing up to help to step it up with additional funding and support to provide services to those who are in need of behavioral health services. So excellent and constant communication with those providers. There are challenges that have come up in the last week, in the last day, and there will be challenges over the next several weeks. We're working very closely with them to address all of those challenges. The other challenges are for the homeless services providers and their employees and volunteers. We've heard concerns about providers and their employees and volunteers about the safety in the Rio Grande area. I can say confidently now, I do feel that it is safe, that we've turned a corner. We've got a lot of work to do, but we've been in close communication with those providers. We're talking with providers about changes and tweaks even to the homeless services system and how those services are provided, how we might protect those who are vulnerable and seeking services, to help them to come here and to receive those services safely, effectively, and efficiently. And those conversations are going well. And then, as you all know, and you've probably read we have major changes that are happening to the system over the next couple of years, which providers have been integrally involved in helping to inform those changes and to guide those changes, and that's all happening in this context. So I feel that those, because we have frequent and regular meetings with the homeless services providers and the behavioral health providers in that community, that the communication is good. But if there are providers who are here today who feel that they have needs or questions that haven't been answered, please reach out to us directly, to any of us or any of our staff who you know. Let us know what concerns or questions you have that we might address them. Many of them we're aware of and we're working to address them. Some of them we may not be aware of, and we need you to help us spot those concerns and help us to address them.
Probably the most frequently asked question that we got is similar to this one. This is from someone who lives just south of Pioneer Park, and the question, you've addressed this a little bit, but I'd like to get as specific a response as possible. We are getting increased quote-unquote visits as the hornet's nest is being stirred up. How do we get immediate help? And what's being done to deal with this issue of what law enforcement calls spidering of this activity?
Thank you. It is an important question. It was one of the initial components of the plan, as we recognized that as we move into this area and provide this type of presence, that especially the criminal activity will want to relocate, will want to recongregate. They want to continue to do their business, and that's mainly drug trafficking. We've communicated, like I said, with the Valley Chiefs throughout the area. They're communicating with us now, as you mentioned, even as far away as Ogden as things move. And that's the value of the Utah Department of Public Safety and the resources that we're able to bring to bear. We're here to pursue that criminal activity, to support those other local agencies wherever they are.
Hey, just real quick, we knew this would happen. We have the staffing and the contingency plan to address this. Call 799-3000. Make your voice heard. Every time you call, it creates a log. When the log is there, that's intelligence. When the intelligence is there, we mine that. We send our people there. So make that call. If it's an emergency, 911. Let your voices be heard. Let us know where they are, and we'll adjust our plan and put people out to address those issues.
Okay, another question that's come up frequently is around the cleaning up of the area, and this is representative of those kinds of questions. Does the increased frequency of street cleaning mean that syringes, trash, and feces on the sidewalk will be cleaned up, and on what schedule?
Salt Lake County is beginning tomorrow daily cleanups in the Rio Grande area, thanks to support from Salt Lake City in the state of Utah. Those daily cleanups will continue into the future. We know it's going to take a little bit of time to get on top of this, but you're going to see daily cleanups. I also want anyone from the surrounding communities to know that we know that the spidering will occur not only with some of the criminal element, but we're going to see some of our homeless friends who will spider out into some of these other neighborhoods. We want to invite those people to come in and receive services. We have adequate space in the services, so please come in. But we will be doing cleanups not only in the Rio Grande area, but as some of that camping and littering and things spider out into the community, we're going to be doing cleanups wherever needed outside of the Rio Grande area. But we do want those who are homeless, who may find themselves without a place to go, to know that it is safe to come back to Rio Grande to receive services. That's where we want them to come. We want them to give help. The space is there. The services are there. We invite them to come back.
Mayor, is there a way, if they do see it in other parts of the county, who do they contact?
Contact the Salt Lake County Health Department, who is, and you can find their information, Google it. We may want to add a link somewhere, we'll talk about that. But for now, contact Salt Lake County Health Department if you see concerns about camping. I think you can also contact Salt Lake City. We're communicating closely with Salt Lake City on those cleanups.
Can I just say, this is not a sales pitch trying to convince you of something that we're going to do that we want you to buy. We want this to work, but we desperately need you to tell us when it's not. We need you to send us, every phone has a camera in it nowadays. If you're seeing something that is not consistent with what you're hearing, we need you. We're depending on you to communicate that back to us, and we have to find those proper conduits, but we need your input to make sure that what we're saying, I don't want to be a bag of wind. I don't want to tell you this and not have it happen. I need the input. We need the input back. If there are communities that are being interrupted, we are depending on you and really can't do it without your voice and your eyes on this effort to make sure that we're getting it right.
Okay, another question. What's happening to people's stuff? Homeless people, those experiencing homelessness as they are arrested, what happens to their stuff? As there is cleanup, what is happening to their possessions?
As far as someone's property, it doesn't matter what you're arrested for. It's our responsibility to inventory that and to maintain that in good condition until it can be released back to you. As you can imagine, in some of these cases, that's a very challenging thing to do, but we're committed to doing our duty and taking care of that. It's requiring some additional resources that we're having to bring available as far as facilities and personnel that will be charged with that. But it's something that is important to every one of us in our lives. We have what we have, and it's our property.
A frequently asked question is, what can individuals do to help? And also another, we have some representatives from other jurisdictions here. What can other cities and jurisdictions do to help as this unfolds?
In Salt Lake City, we are encouraging everyone to visit www.slchost.org to learn about the programs that are available to those in need, but to also have a space to make a donation in support of those organizations that are doing the day-to-day work out there.
Yeah, and let me just say one thing to not do, if I could, and that is to please, please, please do not give to panhandlers. That's one of the biggest problems that we have, all right? We are going to be launching an education campaign together with law enforcement. The legislature passed a law this past session that makes it illegal to give to panhandlers on our most busy thoroughfares. It's dangerous, and I will tell you that so much of the drug trade down in this area is being fueled by panhandling. It doesn't help people. We have ways to help people. Pamela taught me this very early, that is not the way to do it. Again, the website that the mayor mentioned, slchost.org. slchost.org. There are places to give, places to volunteer, and then to our service providers who are always looking for volunteers. One of the concerns was because people were fearful of what the environment, what was happening there, that many people who volunteered before had stopped volunteering or who didn't want to volunteer anymore. It's time to come back. All right, we need you, and we need more of you.
Let me just add too. I don't know about you, but it is uncomfortable. We're a giving community. We're Utah. If someone's standing there with a sign and we're at an intersection, it's kind of hard to just keep your eyes forward and ignore the situation in front of you. Understand this, the bill that we passed isn't directed to panhandling specifically. It's this: you can't engage in transactions in a major intersection. It's not safe. There's no pullover area. There's no reasonable way to see that happen, and that includes even, unfortunately, those firefighters with the boots. They're going to need to find the Walmart parking lots or whatnot. But I will tell you this: the law now is, if you get off of one of the I-15, I-80, 215, and you see this, it is not legal to transact in these intersections. And we're just going to encourage people that there are charitable organizations and service providers where those same dollars can get to the people that need help the most.
What are we doing to make sure that the civil liberties of transient peoples involved in this are being protected?
Yesterday, the chief and I picked up 2 employees of the ACLU, and we went into the operation, and we're in that area of the Rio Grande as this took place. We also went out to the jail, and we're checking on how things were being managed inside the jail. I can tell you we are working very closely with them, the Attorney General, the District Attorney, to make sure that we are not doing things that infringe upon people's civil liberties. And that's a very important piece to me, and one that I have been staying very focused on throughout this whole discussion and the work that we are doing.
And just to follow up on the mayor's comments, look, I think that lends itself to the transparency of what we're doing up here. This is a very transparent operation. There's no secrets here. So when we went out with the ACLU, it was good to hear their feedback. So again, the transparency issue is big here.
When I got this assignment, one of the very first things I did was schedule a meeting with the ACLU and others to have this conversation. The speaker, when he got back from Boston, had another meeting with the ACLU. They gave us many suggestions. We've implemented some of those. And I want to say our attorneys have been fantastic. There is an exchange of ideas that are happening here, and they very often have checked us and said, can't do that. Here's the case law. Let me explain it to you. This is important. If we do this the wrong way, that's how it fails. We have to do it the right way, and that is to take care of people's civil liberties. But I also want to say that one of those civil liberties is for the people that are there for the right reasons to not be harassed by the people that are there for the wrong reasons. And so that's also one of our civil liberties, is that people who need help can find it without having to be surrounded by drug dealers.
So, and I'm sorry, we are going to have to end this at 5 o'clock. I think some of the participants will be able to stay around to answer some of your specific questions. So we'll try to get through a few of these before the top of the hour. So how is it that you're choosing what to enforce and what to ignore? So there's been some discussion about, are we going to see heightened enforcement of, say, an anti-camping law? Are people being picked up for simple Class C misdemeanors like jaywalking and so on? How are you making those choices out there as a part of this operation?
You know, this is an operation of order maintenance. First is to restore order. And we're working, and I think we've got a good step on that. But look, this is your community where you live, work, and people visit. There is an expectation that people behave properly down here. We shouldn't have any less expectation down here than we have, any other neighborhood in this city. So what we're doing is, if you're down here for nefarious criminal reasons, make no mistake, we're going to arrest you, and we have a jail bed for you. Order maintenance doesn't always mean you get a citation or an arrest, but it can simply be that we're going to change the culture, change the behavior. And so it goes back to that broken windows theory. Look, a community where minor criminal offenses go unchallenged or unchecked will soon lead to more further criminal activity and ultimately violence. Look, we're going back, we're restoring order, and we're on an order maintenance program for this community, because this community has expectations like every community in this county.
Okay, I'm going to press you just a bit. Can I be arrested for jaywalking?
You can be cited. Yeah, I don't think you would be arrested. But it may lend, look, if somebody walks across the street and we want to talk to them, they may be jaywalking. That may lead to us talking, finding out who they are, and they may have a warrant. For a long time, a lot of people couldn't go to jail down here, so there are a lot of people packing a lot of warrants around. So, yeah, it sends a strong message that this community, there's an expectation, and if you're down here or have been down here committing crimes, we're going to find you.
How has the homeless population responded to your actions in the field?
I'll just share with you, I've had the chance in the last few weeks to go down into the area a few times, and each time I encountered individuals who were more agitated than others, those who were very aggressive towards officers, as well as, you can imagine, the other population. Yesterday, I went back in with our troopers, and I saw what they had been telling me. It was people who are of the homeless community coming up to us and saying thank you. I was there for more than a couple hours last night, and I probably experienced that myself at least 10 times. But the other thing is, and I mentioned this earlier, today I was talking with one of my majors on the phone, and a woman walked up to him, and he didn't turn the phone off, but he wanted to answer her questions. She's a resident, and so I listened to the conversation, and she became very emotional, just thanking him, and told the major that last night was the first night in a long time that she was not awoken by people screaming and violence and things that woke her up. And she also mentioned that she was able to get on and off the public transportation today without feeling fearful. So those are the kind of things that at this point I wanted to hear, but I'll tell you, it's the same thing I want to hear 2 months, 2 years from now. This is a sign of progress.
Okay, following up on that then, Commissioner Squires, can you say more specifically about what the ongoing police presence, ongoing public safety presence will be in this neighborhood?
Well, there's no doubt that you're seeing us surge right now because we have a lot of work to do. The amount of criminal activity that's been taking place requires that. But we also know, like any community, when you maintain and restore order, it takes a lot less manpower. And so we have the ability to flex anytime we need to. But we anticipate that as things progress and order is restored, that it will take a lot less than what we have today.
And I'll make this our final question. Ben, you had something else? Okay. A number of people as employers down here have expressed concern about how do we keep our employees safe as they come and go to work.
You know, that the biggest thing, and I hear this from a lot of different employees down here, that they will call. Our bike officers have a line that if they'll call, it's 799-DNTN. It's the downtown phone number. If you'll call that, if it's a non-emergency, we can come over and address issues, talk with you, find out what the problem is, maybe give you some ideas of how to do that. We can actually deploy our bike officers on a specific problem. So if you'll use that number, I mean, if it's an emergency, call 911, but if you'll call 799-DNTN, that goes to our bike officers. We can then address those problems and help you out kind of on a as-come needed basis.
Thank you. I'll be quick, but I just want to add, Salt Lake County, we are more human services than we are law enforcement. So you're seeing some of the law enforcement action. The phase one of this operation is law enforcement, and understandably, a lot of the questions are about that law enforcement and sustained effort. What I will say, the reason that I'm standing here with my head held high and looking you in the eye is because this is not just a law enforcement action. We know that that would not be sustainable. And we've turned the page on that as a state, and we've said just taking people and warehousing them until they come back to our streets and commit more crimes and warehouse them again is not a sustainable way to approach that. Incarceration is necessary. I don't want to say that it's not a necessary part of what we need to do, but what we're talking about here is sustainable. So the next phases of this include taking those people, and when they leave the criminal justice system, they don't go back to the streets until they commit another crime. They go into treatment. And so serious conversations, I've mentioned this before, but serious conversations, that's why the county's here at the table, serious conversations about treatment. What we also know is access to housing is important. These people need to get stably housed. They need to get, thank you, stably housed, into treatment, their lives stabilized, employed, and back on their feet. That's how we break this cycle of going in and out of jail. And the plan that we're developing is a sustainable plan.
Thank you, Mayor, and I think it's a great way to wind things up because that is critical. The services that Mayor McAdams is talking about, combined with the incredible work that Mayor Biskupski and her team are doing on affordable housing, 1,000 units that they're working on, all of these things working together is how we're going to solve this. This is why the city couldn't do it alone. This is why the county couldn't do it alone, and this is why the state could not do it alone. We have applied, the legislature approved this 18 18 months ago for a Medicaid waiver that will provide coverage for most of this population that we're discussing and talking about. That did not get approved with the last administration. It did not get denied either. It was just in those last 2 months, nothing was happening. And so we have been told that very soon we expect to have that waiver granted. That will be a huge deal. It's approximately $100 million in state funds combined with the federal funds that will help to give coverage, to get treatment, and to accomplish those things that we want to accomplish to help people get back on their feet, which is so critical. And we're looking forward to that.
Well, thank you very much for joining us this late afternoon, early evening. One of the things that I recognize is going to be very important is for us to determine a way that we can allow for feedback to the operations that are going on and so on. So although this is now a new task for us, I'm going to go ahead and assign to us that we'll figure out some way digitally to make sure that there's a place where people can provide their comments. We will collect the questions and comments that you've provided and try to find a way to respond to that through that digital process. And through the same mechanism that invited you here, we'll try to get the word out about how we're responding to those kinds of questions and concerns. Thank you very much for your participation tonight. And thank you so much for all the concern that's helped us to get to this point. Thank you for your engagement.